Hello class, I will be presenting Chapter 14, Enhancing Consumers' Literacy Practices in an Urbanizing Community, studied by Moses Samuel and Saratha Sithapuram, presented by Denise Guerrero. This chapter begins by introducing the curriculum project that was developed by a university-school partnership. This project was located in Banting, Malaysia. The project rationale stemmed from concerns that students in rural Malaysia were not motivated to learn English. Students did not see the need for the language in their daily lives. The project was carried out in two phases: the environmental analysis and the development of curriculum units based on this analysis. Just to give you a better understanding of Banting's environment, it was historically known as an agriculture area for rubber, palm oil, and tea plantations. It also experienced a phase of economic development as a result of a number of small and medium-scale industries, as well as multinational palm oil processing and electronics factories. This then resulted in a higher income for people in the community, which then changed its consumers' literacy practices and lifestyles. Therefore, the project aimed to develop units that were relevant to the literacy practices. This chapter focused on a unit over food labels with the goal of enhancing the literacy practices of students as young consumers. I included this quote as it seemed to be reflective of this case study's approach. Before launching into the design of literacy programs, it is necessary to understand the literacy practices that target groups and communities are already engaged in. The environmental analysis, which I'll go over the next few slides, identified constraints which would affect the implementation of the curriculum and potentials from the situation that could be used to infuse local relevance in the curriculum. It also took into consideration the current situation of both the national syllabus and the school's local setting. Education in Malaysia is overseen by the Ministry of Education and has established a national syllabus for schools to follow. It includes teaching and learning English, which is Malaysia's official second language. It focuses on the skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, as well as grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. The unit on food labels covered the following items on the national syllabus. Item 1.19 ask for and give information and labels on the packages and tins. Item 2.9 read and locate information and labels on packages and tins. The national syllabus also follows a prescribed textbook as a primary source. The textbook includes discrete items on grammar and vocabulary. The chapter on food label is comprised of mechanical exercises involving questions such as what is the brand name of the product, what is the expiry date. Overall, students found textbook exercises uninteresting and not relevant to their lives. After reviewing the national syllabus, both constraints and potentials were identified. Constraints included specified generic content which did not address the particular experiences of learners in different communities, and potentials which included that it allowed teachers and curriculum developers working at a local level to include specific content relevant to students' experiences. Aside from analyzing the national syllabus, researchers also examined the local setting, specifically its consumers' practices. Consumers' practices in towns could be seen in a way which goods were bought and sold in the community. Traditionally, provision shops were used. Basically, it's a one-shop retail outlet that sold varied products including fresh foods, stationery, kitchen utensils, aspirin, and cough syrups. The products were tightly packed into the shop with little room to move around, whether it was stacking products high on shelves or piling items high off the floor. Basically, customers would tell the shopkeeper what he or she needed, and the shopkeeper would get the items. Because the shopkeeper was expected to get the items, the shopkeeper needed to know its consumer profile for the neighborhood. So basically, the shopkeeper needed to know what brand would appeal to the different people and what they could afford. This exchange was mostly reliant on communication, therefore talking native language was an important part of the shopping experience. As a result of the economic development, a large supermarket opened in town, thus insinuating the town has arrived. This supermarket included a range of customer products packaged in cans, jars, bottles, and cartons, signs displaying the categories of products. Shoppers now had direct access to products, and the supermarket experience was mediated by customers' readings of text written in English and Malay, since both imported and local goods were sold at the supermarket. Analysis of the local setting indicated that the community was now urbanizing, and this was reflected in changes in their consumerist practices. The practice changed as a result of initially shopping at a provision shop, which is a talking event between customer and shopkeeper, to now shopping at a supermarket, which was a literacy event where the customer had to be reading and interpreting product text. The environmental analysis also examined the learners. The curriculum was designed for students in their first year of secondary school, since English was taught as a subject in both primary and secondary schools. Interviews with students indicated that except for about a quarter of students who did speak English at home, the use of English by the rest of the students outside the classroom was limited. Students also did not find their textbook-based English lessons interesting. Therefore, the curriculum could use learners' interests by providing learners with materials relevant to their situation. Researchers also found that students began to realize that English was becoming increasingly relevant in their lives due to access to cable television, access to the internet, and opening of the supermarket. It was also found that 14-year-olds were especially excited about the new changes such as the supermarket. The environmental analysis also included the teacher. It found that the teacher relied heavily on the textbook, which included class exercises modeled after national examination papers. The teacher was also trained in teaching English as a second language and spoke English fluently. Additionally, the teacher also attended workshops that helped explore alternative ways of teaching other than what was provided in the textbook. The table shows an overall summary of constraints and potentials discovered through the environmental analysis. After reviewing those constraints and potentials, the environmental analysis indicated there was a need to enable students to develop English literacy skills in relation to the increased range of products and new ways of shopping. It also indicated a need for designing concrete activities around authentic artifacts and texts that will engage students in meaningful literacy practices. Therefore, the curriculum unit on food labels focused on breakfast foods and drinks, involved the use of authentic food products, involved simulations of real-world purposes in buying and selling foods, and included a breakfast bazaar displaying authentic breakfast products set up in the classroom. Here's a table breaking down the focus of the unit and the activities used to practice. The curriculum focused on progress from awareness building to the development of skills needed in consumerist activities, vocabulary related to new food and drink items and forms of packaging, classifying food items, developing skills for reading consumerist texts, which were basically reading non-linear labels on food packages, reading food labels for information such as identifying ingredients, nutritional value, and directions for use. The curriculum also focused on teaching students to take note of prices and expiry dates, using food label information to recommend products to potential customers, designing labels for traditional local breakfast foods not typically labeled when sold. This would encourage students to ask questions about ingredients, nutritional value, and shelf life, as well as it enabled students to engage with nutritional and consumerist information. In conclusion, the starting point of the curriculum project was the concern that students did not find English lessons engaging. The environmental analysis highlighted that real-world text and literacy practices did not figure in the classroom. It also identified changes in the consumerist practices in the urbanizing community. As a result, the curriculum incorporated texts and practices from the social world of learners within the existing national syllabus. The curriculum extended items specified in the national syllabus by making connections to the literacy and consumerist practices now impacting the community. Thank you for watching my presentation, and please answer the posted questions. Thanks.